So this week we're going to continue practicing our mannequin drawings. I'll reload this again, but there is a document that says mannequin drawings, and it's just a bunch of photos of mannequins in different poses. And I want you to pick one pair together and then two individual ones, and try to pick different poses. And you can go online and you can find your own images of mannequins in different poses. And there's also drawing apps. So here's a few. These are the ones I kind of set aside that I want to draw from. There's like free apps online that have mannequin drawings, and I'll show you those for students who want to try those out. So on your app, so whether it's your phone, I only have an Android, and then I have my iPad. So, but if you have an Apple phone, the iPad app should work on the Apple phone, I believe. So if you put in your search and you search for drawing pose reference, it'll give you a bunch of apps that artists use. And on iPad, there's one called Manikin, Manikin. And then on Android, there's one that's called Magic Poser, and I'll show you what both of those do. So this is the Mannequin app on the iPad, and I'm going through the tutorial. So it says tap add, and then you can add your mannequin, and then it says drag the torso down. So whatever, you can have the mannequin kind of be in a jumping pose. I can move the camera and get different angles and views, which is really great. So if you want to draw a person from above view, it says pinch to move to further and closer. And if I tap on parts, I can rotate it. Double click it, unlaces it. If I hit, let's see, delete button deletes that whole thing. So again, I can play with it, create any pose I want. I want to bring this forward. So I can pose it however I want, and then I can play with my camera angle. And then once I have it, I can draw from here. So this is actually kind of a cool app to play with if you have it. And then this is the app on Magic Poser, and it has like running. So it has a bunch of different like cartoon characters or mannequin poses that I can choose from. So let's say I like that one for runner. Oh, and then you got to sign in. So I'll sign in later. But you can use these to draw from and get a variety of poses. If not, you can just look on the internet and just put like running person and use a photo of a person to use for your mannequin drawings. I'm just going to use the ones from the handout it gave you, just to keep it simple. So let's see. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. And I wanted to do I like the little like ballerina one here, so I'm going to start with that. You can work with pencil or you can draw with pen. This is really about getting more practice in with our drawing the figure. So as I'm drawing this, I want to keep in mind that the top of the body, from the head to the torso, this distance is going to be the same as this distance here, or pretty close. The head's tilted, so it's going to be slightly smaller. So if I'm drawing my mannequin here, this is going to be the top of my body. And then that same distance, so I can either use my pencil to kind of give me an idea of my measurement. I can kind of just eyeball it, or I can use a ruler. I can do this on lined paper if I need to. But I want to make sure, just want to make sure that I am getting the proportions right. A lot of people last week drew the upper body really big and the legs really short, or the arms too long. That is a common beginning error. So just be careful when you're doing that. And if you notice, my lines are really sketchy and messy. And that's okay, because I am kind of just playing with it as I go along. And I'm adjusting it, right? I can always go back and I can erase the parts that I don't like. And I'm just trying to keep this nice and loose. So if I'm looking at my mannequin here, remember the arms are 2 heads tall. And this is a great example because the top of the head is here, and that's this whole length of the arm here, right? And it's a little bit shorter than the head, but you got to remember it's a little bit further down. And then look at how far away it comes from the body. So a lot of people, when they're drawing this, they might draw it too close. So I'm going to angle this out so that I have enough space for the elbow here, or the wrist, sorry. The wrist is going to be equal to the neck, and then the hand goes over the head, right? So about the neck here, that's going to be my wrist. That's going to attach here. And then my hand is going to meet here about halfway of the head. Okay, so I want to use measurements to kind of guide me. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so the same with this hand, this arm, right? So now we've got the hand coming, angling down a bit, and this part is going to be about the height of the head, which means this is going to be a little bit longer. So this is going to go out, and whatever this length is, it's going to be the same length here. So we have our hand, and then we have the forearm, in the arm here. So I'm making sure that this length is pretty similar to the length here. This length is pretty similar, so that my arms look the right proportion for that body. Okay. When I'm drawing the legs, the one leg is bent back, this leg is bent, so they're not perfectly straight, so they're a little bit shorter. But I still want them to, I'd rather them look longer than too short. People always want longer, wish for longer legs. So people are going to be more forgiving if you draw their legs a little too long than if you were to draw their legs too short. So I'm just going to clean up some of my lines here. So I have my sphere that's here and here. And of this length, like the knees are going to be about here. And it's going to be, the top part's going to be a little bit longer because the bottom part, the legs are bent, so they're not going to be quite as long. So I have a knee sticking out. So if I'm looking at my knee here, it's meeting with that part of my face here. So if I were to draw a light line down, then I know my knee is going to be about here. Get that first upper thigh in. My lower knee is kind of in line with this wrist here. So, actually no. Yeah, the inside part is in line with it. So if I bring this line straight down, my knee is on the inside of that. And it's actually a little bit lower than, if I'm looking at this, here's the top part of this one, here's the bottom of this one. This knee is a little bit lower than that. So I'm going to bring this down. Fix this sphere because it's a little too small then. There's my upper thigh. And then I have this leg crossing over, and the ankle lines up with the thigh here. And it crosses down like directly underneath the knee here. So I'm going to get this pretty close here. And so my ankle is about here. Drawing my foot. And then we don't really see the back leg here, so it's going to angle like this. So I'm going to bring these lines down because we're going to see it behind. It's actually angling back. And then we see in the image, we see a little bit of the foot here. So the foot's going to be back here. And that would be my one pose. So from this point, once I have this point, I'm going to take either a marker or a pen, and I want to continue practicing my shading. So if you were like me and you had your light source on this side for last week's assignment, I want your light source to be somewhere else. So I might have my light source here or above. And this is where I'm going to start to define the lines that I want to keep. And I'm not going to worry about erasing the pencil. I can if I want to, but I I really don't have to, because I'm actually going to follow the lighting that's on here. And so I'm going to have some light shading here. Light shading directly underneath the chest part here, and it fades and gets lighter towards the bottom. There's some shadow here. There's a darker shadow here because the hand's creating a shadow. There's a lighter shadow here. And so we just want to practice shading with our pen if you have one. If not, then you can practice shading with your pencil, and you can either choose to draw with the hatching like what we're doing with the pen, or you can shade this realistically with some blending. So that's going to be your choice. But I want the mannequins to have light and dark values. And I want you to really focus on those proportions. Try to make sure the arms and legs are not too long or too short. And I'm going to stop here for the video. I'll continue this guy and then put him up as my example. But remember, you're going to do 2 individual mannequins, which means they're by themselves. So you're going to have 2 individual drawings. So like, let's say 1 and 2. And then you're going to do 1 couple. So you're going to do 1 drawing of 2 mannequins together. Okay, so that's going to be a total of 3 little exercises. And just like this, start off with the pencil and then go back and add in your shading with your pen.